Oh, it's time for class.
Class is in session!
Roll call!
Bueller.
I'm gonna be late for class.
Bueller.
Am I hallucinating here? Just what in the hell do you think you're doing?
I'm late for class.
You are mine now. You belong to me.
Did you study for the test?
No more complaining. No more Mr. Kimblett to go to the bathroom. Nothing. There is no bathroom.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Middle Class Film Class. I'm your host for today, Joseph.
I'm Peter.
And no Tyler over there.
Just Danzig.
Just Danzig carrying kitty litter. And this week, the Wheel of Destiny landed on my movie, Stalker.
I bet this trailer is going to do really well in the pod.
Yeah, if you're watching this, on YouTube, then you have the upper hand.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's going on, audio listeners, is there's a guy standing in a field speaking a different language.
Spanish, I think.
Yeah, somewhere over there.
Здесь исполнится ваше самое заветное желание. Самое выстраданное.
I was thinking the same thing in that scene.
Yeah. Secret tunnel. How long is this?
I don't know.
It's almost done.
You tell me. That's exactly what I was saying when I watched the movie.
Stalker. We got there in the end. It's coming soon.
Coming soon to a theater near you.
Okay, Stalker. That was a riveting trailer for our audio listeners.
It matched the tone of the movie.
And so a little quick one-sentence plot synopsis from IMDb. Stalker is about a guide who leads two men through an area known as the Zone to find a room that supposedly grants wishes. Mm-hmm. And the guide they are called stalkers. Stalkers are the people who guide other people to this area in this forbidden zone. And first and foremost, we owe Tyler a little bit of an apology.
Oh, yeah.
Because he made the claim that this was a movie that inspired Annihilation. And after watching it, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Definitely. But you're not here, Tyler, so I retract that apology.
You were so close. We were so close to greatness.
Yeah, so close. And this is directed by Andrei Tarkovsky, who is probably one of the most like famous directors,
like known Arthouse directors.
Yeah, and especially of the sci-fi genre, I would think, because he did Solaris, he did The Mirror.
Am I telling myself right now? First Tarkovsky movie.
Same. Actually, no, not true. Not. I watched Solaris in school, in college, in an acting class for some reason. But he's done quite a few movies, and he's no longer with us. He died of cancer
from this movie.
From
making this goddamn movie.
And this is all of our first time watches. Tyler said that he was meaning to watch this movie, and right before I put it on, he was gonna watch it. He was about to hit play.
Yeah.
And then I put it on the wheel.
He's, oh no, I can't.
Oh, dang it.
I can't watch that 3-hour Polish movie.
Dang it. Russian, I believe.
Yeah, whatever.
And here we are. And now we have all watched, me and you anyway, have watched Stalker, Tarkovsky's Stalker. It's in the Criterion collection, as much of his movies are.
Spine number 888.
888. Perfect. Yeah. And so let's get some initial reactions, Pete.
Okay, Stalker. First off, before I get into my thoughts on this, I have to give the respect to the actors who are in this movie. Okay, I'm going to read these names.
This is why I didn't say their names.
I'm going to read these names perfectly for the first time. Elisa Frejikling played Zena Stalkera, Ooh, her last name is Stalkera, and she's married to a stalker. How fitting.
Stalkera.
Yeah. Alexander Kadanovitsky played Stalker. Anatoly Soletsklin played Pisatel.
The writer.
And Nikolai Grinko played Professor.
Yeah.
This was written and directed by Andrei Tarkovsky and also was based off of a play from, or not a play, a book from Boris Strugatsky. Boris Strugatsky and Andrei Andraki. Arkady Strugatsky. God damn, these names are hard to say. I always thought it was Polish because the names are so difficult to pronounce. Oh. And I mean, I know Russian feels like a little bit easier to read to an American eye and tongue, but I guess not. I guess it's all Russian. So, Stalker. So much has been said about this movie, and it's been put on this pedestal for so long that I didn't really know what to expect going into it. And it is almost impossible to not compare it to Annihilation just because of how specific that storyline is. And it starts out just like Annihilation does, where we don't know if it was a meteor or an alien event or something, but it happened to our small town in the Florida Everglades. And now here's this zone, aka the Shimmer. And what is inside, we don't know. And it is ever-shifting, ever-changing event in this place. The thing that differs between this and Annihilation is that not a whole lot happens in this movie. You're told about the shifting of the time paradox, and you're told about these traps and these death traps and things like that happen there. But you don't really see any of it. So you might think that's a detriment to the film, but I think it actually works pretty well.
Yeah.
The beautiful part about this movie is how it looks, and it's like a beautiful showing of a forgotten time or a forgotten era or some sort of like mysterious place that exists outside of our world. You see some of these landscape shots, and like the background is beautiful, and it's got this great misty look and out of focus foreground and the really sharp contrast to the background. And there's some really cool stuff and long lingering tracking shots of pools of water with interesting things happening in there. And none of it is particularly, by traditional sense, beautiful. It's always peppered in with a bunch of trash, burnt down cars and tanks and things like that. But that doesn't really matter. Like the way that it looks is so deliberate and so specific that you feel like you're looking at a weird painting of another dimension or something like that. So the other comparison that's really hard to avoid is how this looks so much like the footage of Chernobyl, the neighborhood in the area around Chernobyl, which is basically no man's land now. And people who are giving those expeditions, illegal expeditions into Chernobyl, like no man's land, call themselves stalkers after this movie. It's like this title that they've taken up after Tarkovsky's Stalker. It's really hard to not think about all that when you're watching the movie, but did I enjoy this almost 3-hour movie where almost nothing happens in it? Yeah, I did. I think that there's a number of times where you think it's going to go somewhere and something's going to happen, but it just fizzles out to, again, more of nothing happening. So there was a frustration to some of the scenes that you're like, okay, now there's going to be a trap, and now somebody's going to die definitively on screen, and we're going to see something happen to this character. And then you turn around and they find him and he's cooking by the fire, and you're like, hey, where'd you go? Oh, I went to get my rucksack.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm glad you found us. And you're like, so is it as dangerous as he keeps saying? Is the stalker keep saying, oh, I can't believe you're so lucky. You're so lucky you didn't get killed by the thing, the zone that we're in currently. And it's like nothing ever really happens to them throughout this, I guess, except for the very end. It's arguable that they, met their demise or whatever it was. I don't know. I'd say this is more of a frustrating movie than like a bad movie, because I can't call it a bad movie, but I can't call it a great movie either, in the sense that it's a great experiment in film is what it feels like. So maybe this led to greater things and people being able to work within the medium a little bit more in the modern day. But I feel like they were doing big things even pre-'79 in cinema, and really interesting things before that. Like we were watching 8.5 from Fellini. Was it 1960 or something like that?
I don't remember.
60,
I think it was older than this, though.
Yeah, it was quite older than this. And they were doing some very experimental and very weird sort of stuff in that movie that I don't know. I really kind of a hard time quantifying how I felt about this movie. I'm not mad that I watched it. I'm actually really glad that I watched it because now I can finally check it off the list and say that I've seen it. And like you said earlier, Tarkovsky is in that realm of Fellini and Bergman and some of the Francois Truffaut, like these like lofty foreign names of directors who are auteurs that are like the foundational people who are built what's comes in cinema since then.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have a huge desire to run out and see Solaris after this, though. Unsatisfying answer to all this because the movie itself is unsatisfying. But I think ultimately I liked it, and I'm glad that I watched it. It didn't have to be 3 hours though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Tyler, what? Oh, he's not here.
Oh yeah, Tyler, where's your? Did you write in and leave us a voicemail? No, I didn't get that either. Damn it, man.
So Stalker is a movie that has been, obviously it's been around for a long time. And it's a movie that I have not seen before. It was not even really ever mentioned when I was in film school. It seems like very much like a movie that should have been brought up at least once.
That's surprising.
We did watch a Tarkovsky movie. We watched Solaris in an acting class. I don't know why we watched it in an acting class, but I can't even remember if we watched the whole thing either.
Maybe just scenes from Solaris.
Yeah, a couple scenes. So that's really my only exposure to Tarkovsky. Obviously, I've heard of him, and I've seen the iconic the little mini sand dunes in that room.
I always thought they were supposed to be like buried bodies.
That's kind of that's what I thought when that scene came up. But you never really they don't unearth anything from that scene. But that's really my only exposure to this movie is just that one image of. Of that, and then
It's like a bunch of molehills. It almost looks like little like moguls, the ski slopes.
Yeah, it's like a grand room
Full of lumps of grass.
And I watched this in 2 parts, and the movie is also divided up into parts as well. And I stopped the first part right when part 2 started. It was like an hour in, and then I finished it yesterday. And when I had finished part 1, and I was like had moved on and was at work the following day waiting to watch it when I got home. I was like very much looking forward to what else is going to happen because they had just entered the zone. And when I finished it, I really loved this movie.
Oh, great.
I really enjoyed it. At first going into it, I was like feeling a little like it was going to be a daunting experience because of the runtime and the nature of Tarkovsky and what I've heard about him. And based on what I remember of Solaris, that's a very kind of a slow movie as well.
Yeah.
I wasn't dreading it, but I was just like, I'm like, okay, I gotta plop down, and it's in Russian, and
Yeah.
I gotta read.
You have to be absolutely laser focused.
Eyes glued to the screen, and I really found it very captivating in its imagery and how it's shot. I think that this movie it looks great. It has a great color to it, especially when they leave that monochromatic yellow,
the sepia toned,
yellow caked kind of film, and then they enter the zone and then the auto zone, and they are now in this land. They're inside the barriers.
Sure.
And this movie it was like a philosophy 101. It was a very I admit I looked up some stuff about this movie after I watched it because there was not going to be any way I was going to get everything just on one watch and just from watching it. So I looked into it a little bit, and it confirmed some of the things I thought. There was an interesting line earlier in the movie, but like right before they take that little car, a little train car into
the single engine train car.
Yeah, they take that car into the zone. They're like in this warehouse. And the writer, I believe, they just go by the writer and the professor in the movie.
And the Stalker.
And the Stalker, yeah. They don't really have names, although that guy's credited as Pisatel in IMDb.
I wonder if that means writer.
Yeah. He says this line because they're talking about the room, which is supposedly a room where you go in and it grants your most cherished desire. And this guy, he says, my conscience wants vegetarianism to win over the world, and my subconscious is yearning for a piece of juicy meat. But what do I want? And it's interesting because if a genie showed up and asked you and granted you 3 wishes, you could say, oh, I wish for this, I wish for this, I wish for that. As opposed to in this world, you just walk into a room and it grants
what your desire
is. It knows
is.
what you really want. And
to me, that's probably the scariest part of it.
And I was like, if I were to apply that to my own life, like what I say I want certain things, but do I really want them subconsciously and consciously want them?
Yeah.
Am I aware of things that I actually want versus things I say that I want? if I were to apply it to my own life, if I wanted to be like Oscar-winning director or cinematographer or something,
Yeah.
and I walk in the room and I wake up the next day and I have Oscar sitting in my bedroom, yet I learned nothing.
I see what you mean.
You know what I mean? Or would I even get that? Would I just? It reminded me of not a great example or great comparison, but like in Bedazzled.
Sure. No, it's a perfect example.
When
I was thinking of Bedazzled most of this movie, actually.
when Brendan Fraser, I want to be rich, whatever, and he ends up being rich, but he's also
Colombian
a
drug lord.
drug cartel.
But he can speak Spanish, so that's cool.
Yeah.
To be fair, though, I'm thinking of Elizabeth Hurley most times.
Oh, true. So it's like he got what he wanted, but yeah, what cost? Do you get what you want?
It's a real monkey paw situation.
And then another line that a writer has where he's talking about he wants to be famous or he wants to be like a genius. And he says, a man writes because he is tormented. If I know I'm a genius, then why write? Who is it for? Like, why? Like, if a man writes because he doubts himself and he's tormented and he has these experiences and he's putting it on paper for himself. But if he knows that he's a genius and he's confident that he knows everything, then what's the point of writing if he already knows, if he knows everything? I found that to be the most impactful part for me in terms of the theme and the story of the whole movie. And then the production of it was also really impressive to me because there are shots, really long shots in this movie.
5 and 6 minute long shots.
That I didn't realize that they were one shot until it was over. Like that long tunnel scene when we're in that sewer or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're following this guy walking down, and I'm wondering, one, how are they getting this shot?
Yeah.
Because it's not a flat surface, and there's a bunch of debris and stuff. I assume they're probably on a cart of some kind or something.
Yeah, the wheels maybe are keyed out a little bit so it can roll along
and
the tube.
But yeah, it was very impressive on a production level.
Even that first shot when they're in bed together, and it's a low, slow take of him getting out of bed and then coming in. He comes right at the camera, and you're like, is he going to run into the camera? And then he shuts the door, and then the wife gets up and like notices he's out of bed. And you're like, that was like a 5 minute, maybe not 5 minute, probably like a 3 minute shot right there. Beautiful, you know?
Yeah, it's all like really well crafted. And Tarkovsky, his father was a poet. And so it comes from a background of culture or something he's exposed to certain things.
Yeah, sure.
Where he is doing his own version of poetry through film. And the way he tells his stories are just like in these long kind of drawn out emotions and are long drawn out shots. And the movie kind of feels like it tries to like put you in with these people. Yeah. Which I think worked a lot.
I think I agree with you in the sense that the philosophy part of it all was my favorite part, and just the method of getting you to those thoughts, that like thought experiment of who are we writing for if I'm already, the goal of the writing is this and I already agree that for myself, so who am I writing for?
Yeah.
That stuff was like, really loved that.
Yeah.
How they got there was a little challenging for me though.
Yeah, it's definitely a long journey. It's definitely a long journey. And it's more about like their conversations that they're having with each other throughout the whole thing. And because they're walking through the zone and you hear stuff, like you hear like a noise, like an animal or something in the distance, but there's no payoff for that.
Yeah.
And there's no like action or anything like that really. It's all pretty low key. It's all very anticlimactic. And I think he even mentions in the movie before they get to the room, before they even get close to the room, that like people have made it to the threshold, but don't go inside.
Yeah.
And they very much spoiler alert, they don't go in the room by the end of the movie. And it's very much something that Tyler would say. It's about the journeyman type movie. Because they get all the way there, and it seems like it's such a task to get all the way there.
Yeah.
When it cuts to them, they're just back at the bar. It's like, how do they just got out so easily?
Yeah, they skip that whole part, which is interesting because earlier in the movie, the stalker is trying to tell the professor, he says, I need to go back and get my rucksack. It's like, just leave it. You're never going to go back. I could just follow the way back. He goes, no one goes back the same way they came here.
Yeah.
But they somehow did.
Yeah, we don't really see how they got back or which route they take.
I was waiting for them to talk about like their food rations and Annihilation, how they said, oh, we only brought enough food for 3 days, but we've been here for 3 weeks.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
waiting for something like that to happen too.
Yeah, like some sort of
Time loop sort of thing.
like mind fuckery type thing. Because Annihilation, they really play on that. Like
Everything is a mixture of itself. Everything's folding in
Yeah.
upon itself. Your DNA is mixed with
yeah,
thoughts even.
yeah. And in this world, this version of it is, it's not like things are like organically moving around. It's more like the map is just changing or your orientation is changing. But they don't really even talk about that type of stuff.
Yeah.
In this movie. But yeah, I really.
I knew you were going to like this mainly because the idea. And I couldn't tell you how many times there were scenes where I was thinking, how's the camera moving here? What are they doing
Oh,
here?
yeah.
And I know I was thinking Joseph is going to probably try to deconstruct this scene in his head. And I do that too, but you have that the mindset of a camera operator. And this was a very exciting shot composition sort of movie.
Yeah, and it's interesting that this movie takes place. You brought up Chernobyl. Like the whole area looks like a Chernobyl, post Chernobyl event. And this movie was made 7 years before that event, but it's based on another. It's based on another event that happened in the 50s.
Yeah.
And the whole idea is pretty interesting. If I didn't know about that previous like Fallout event that happened before this movie was made, I would think that what the hell? What does Tarkovsky know?
Yeah. Yeah. He's already time bending within our own reality.
What I thought was funny is that the main character Stalker and the writer, the Stalker reminded me of the actor, what's his name? Mark Rolston from Aliens, who plays Private Drake. Like the macho guy who.
Oh yeah, I could see that.
And then the writer reminded me of like Dennis Hopper.
Dennis Hopper. Okay, yeah, I could see that. I could see that too.
Like a Russian version of both those actors.
I'm going to give you a counter argument for who the Stalker actually looks like. His name is Matthew Marr. He's a character actor who was in Air, which I stream picked earlier in the week. And he's also in Gone, Baby Gone. He's the pedophile in Gone, Baby Gone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Look, do you see him?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's got a kind of a cleft palate, so he has a lisp in most of his roles. The whole time I was thinking, God, that guy looks good. He lost a lot of weight for this.
But yeah, I'm curious as to what Tyler would think about this movie if he ends up watching it. But
Yeah, Tyler, let us know. Hopefully next week this be one of your streaming picks.
But yeah, Tarkovsky is an interesting filmmaker. This is really, I can only definitively say that I've seen this because I watched Solaris, but I don't really remember a whole lot about it. I just know it's a sci-fi. And
Do you remember it being good or exciting or anything?
I don't know. This was 12 years ago that I watched it, and I can only remember images.
I honestly don't. I've heard people movie friends and stuff, talk about Solaris and how it's great and all this stuff, but I've never really heard anybody talk about Stalker. So I went on my Letterboxd just to see where the homies lie. Right?
Oh yeah, who's the people who've seen it?
Yeah, and there's a couple of our listeners on the show that have rated it. We have Joe Bridges, 3 stars.
3 stars, huh?
Matt Stillman, 3.5 stars.
Interesting.
Carlo from the Movie Loot, 4 stars. Let's see what his review says. It's very much not a review. It just says, it gives us criteria of how he chose it. But he says, there's no going back. Nobody goes back the same way they came. 4 stars.
Yeah. Kind of how I felt going into this movie. I was like, there's a pre-stalker me and there's a post-stalker me.
Oh, really? Damn. Got you that hard, huh?
Yeah.
And then I have one from Paul, who is a online friend of mine that hosts a show called The Countdown Podcast. Is a really popular podcast in Australia that they do like top 10 of anything. It used to be just movie related stuff. Now it's anything. They do top 10, all pop culture and all that stuff.
Oh, okay.
And he rated it 1.5 stars.
Oh, okay.
And here is Paul's from The Countdown 1.5 star review. Honesty is the best policy, right? Assuming so, I'm happy to admit I understood very little of this supposed classic. And even after reading up on it, I was amazed at how obtuse it all was. Only the visuals kept me mildly engaged through what might have been the most boring 2.5 hour plus films I've ever seen. But then when the director only cares what Bergman or Bresson thought about the film, why am I surprised? 1.5 unconscious desires granted for Stalker. I'm not quite that low on it because I did glean enough of the philosophy aspect of it and like the knowing of oneself.
Yeah.
I really like the line when they're all talking about, the Stalker is talking about someone who has granted the wish. He got his wish and he wished basically to have all the money in the world. He became a very rich man. I think it was Porcupine.
Porcupine.
Porcupine. But then after he got it, after he became a rich man, he hung himself 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
And again, instantly thought, okay, monkey paw. We got the monkey paw scenario here. Careful what you wish for. And the professor and the writer both asked the stalker, why have you never used the room? And he says, I'm fine as I am.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that.
Yeah.
I really like that. It made me think about what I would want subconsciously if I had a genie scenario. First off, my two first things that I would wish for if I had 3 wishes from a genie is all the money I could ever ask for. Basically an unlimited supply. We could be able to pull $1,000 bills out of my pocket, my pants, or something like that. Because as much as everybody says that money can't buy you happiness, they're fucking lying. When all your bills are paid and you don't have to worry about how you're going to afford your next meal or your next rent or whatever it is, or if your car breaks down and you can't afford that, it's like that. When all that melts away, the stress of life becomes a lot more manageable. So that is number one. And once you have all the money that you could desire, you can give that to people who you love and make their life easier too. So that's my number one. Number two, eat as much food as I want and never get fat. And on top of that, the health aspect of it too.
Oh, like the internal.
Yeah, I don't want to just look thin and be
have clogged arteries,
dying on the inside. I just want to basically be all the unhealthy food that I eat and drink is actually healthy for me. That's my number two.
All unhealthy food is now healthy.
Yes, exactly. And it tastes the same. Listen, you hear that, monkey paw. So those are my other two. I don't know. After that, I don't really know because I don't want to influence other people's lot in life. I don't want to have influence over people. I just want to be able to do my own thing, have money, and not have to stress out about everything. And if I want to go travel for a month, I can. If I want to make a short film or a full-length feature film with my friends, I have the money to do it and the time to do it. All that stuff, that's fine. I don't think anything past that. But what would my unconscious self say I want?
Yeah.
I think probably just to be held.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
I want to revert back to baby.
How do we know if we have repressed emotions?
That's a great question.
How do we unlock that?
Yeah.
I guess therapy.
Yeah. I was just going to say, Ryan's screaming at his podcast
There
app
must
right now.
be something out there that some person that can help me get through this. I don't know. They probably don't exist.
I know. It's like a profession. Look at the screen.
What's wrong with the screen?
I'm frozen.
Are you?
Yeah, look at that.
Oh,
Isn't that weird?
I'm not.
Yeah. Oh, whatever.
Hold on, that's...
Hello.
Yeah, you are frozen. That's weird.
I'm frozen.
Cut.
Yeah, you want to quit that? Oh, look, I got the thing here, though.
Thumbs up.
Very weird.
I don't know when I did that.
Is Audacity still rolling?
I'm still rolling.
Okay, that's fine. Whatever.
Should I stop recording here and then start it again?
Sure, why not?
Okay.
If you had a genie that popped up and gave you 3 wishes, Joseph, what would you wish for? Consciously, not subconsciously.
I wouldn't know what.
No, that's coming next.
What my subconscious would want.
Yeah. What's your conscious want? Your earthly body.
Ooh, I would just get rid of diseases.
That'd be a good one. Yeah.
Get rid of diseases and sicknesses. Does that count as one? Is that all?
I think
How
so.
do I encompass all of that?
I think that works.
And get rid of aneurysms and appendicitis.
Just those two. Cancer's all right. We can keep that.
Get rid of those organs that we don't need anymore. Stop making them inhumans. The riches of the world, endless money, like an endless. Yeah, I guess it's just get rid of the need for money.
Okay.
I don't know. Get rid of capitalism.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So everybody can do whatever they want all the time.
Yeah.
I think. Okay.
Yeah, it's hard. I don't know. It's hard not to say the same things.
So if you were to say,
I want Lola to live forever.
There you go. Yeah. Jack's back.
Yeah,
If
Jack's
Jack and Lola
back.
can play together. Jack is Joseph's cat, for those who don't know.
Yes.
His late cat. But if you were to take that idea, take away human suffering, and everybody can do whatever they want all the time. If you were to extrapolate that and take the monkey paw scenario, play devil's advocate.
Yeah.
Now there's going to be nobody to do the things. There's not going to be gaffers. There's not going to be best boys and stuff like that on set because, like, probably not a whole lot of people are like, yeah, I want to run construction on a film set. I'd rather do something more edifying, more like in the spotlight or whatever. Maybe there are.
Yeah, I don't know if he filtered out the people who actually want to do that or do it because they ended up there.
Yeah, and you could take that and put it to all of society.
Yeah.
Now I can't go to the restaurant because there's only a finite number of people who really want to be cooking at that restaurant.
Yeah.
The rest of them are there for a job or whatever. So
The
limit sort of things.
One of the only professions that I can think of off the top of my head where there would be very few, probably one of the least amount of people who would have been filtered out by that are teachers.
Oh yeah, teachers are already
Because they don't get paid anyway.
They're already there for the love of it.
You'd have to be. No one's a teacher for the paycheck.
Yeah, but if you were to take that,
They're there for the summer vacations.
yeah, there you go. If you were to take that perspective, you could say, okay, I want all humans to be able to do the things that they want to do all the time, and in replacement of those humans that are going to get lost to this desire, are NPCs. We just have NPCs on Earth.
Oh, they just like AI, like
or androids,
random people.
Yeah, turn them in androids. you know?
Okay.
Now we have robots that are cooking our food for us and stuff.
And then Tyler is he's an android now.
Yeah, Tyler, you're being replaced by a robot.
Robot version of
He's
yourself.
going to deliver DHL packages to
What
us.
would Tyler's wishes be? Let's just assume for him.
He's the lead singer of the Misfits.
He is Danzig.
He becomes Danzig. Yeah, he gets real buff and has
a barrel of a body.
yeah, turns into a Donkey Kong barrel for a body.
Yeah.
What else?
He does away with hygiene.
Yes, he doesn't have to because that's part of his. That's a part of his.
Oh, that's what makes him different?
Of his zhuzh, yeah,
Okay.
part of the appeal. And that, okay. So here's the real question: is he Danzig or is he Dave Damashek? One or the other.
He's Dave Danzig.
Dave Danzig Shek.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. Tyler, what would your wishes be? Answer it when we see you again.
Yeah. Unlimited hand jobs. He has such low self-esteem, he doesn't even go for the blow. It's just the HJ.
Big titty goth GF.
Yeah, there you go. That's probably on the top of the list.
With vampire fangs and cat ears, and he's a borderline weeb.
Tyler, tell us.
But without the culture. One thing that I wanted to bring up about the back to the movie. Another part of the movie when the Stalker mentions the zone is a very complicated system of traps. And they're all deadly. I don't know what's going on here in the absence of people, but the moment someone shows up, everything comes into motion. Like someone's here. We have to start changing stuff around.
People are here. Look busy.
And old traps disappear. New ones emerge. Safe spots become impassable. Now your path is easy. And now it's hopelessly involved. That's the zone, the auto zone. It may even seem capricious, but it is what we've made it with our condition. And the writer asks, so it lets the good ones pass and kills the bad ones? And Stalker says, I don't know. I think it lets those pass who have lost all hope.
Yeah.
And not good or bad, but wretched people. But even the most wretched will die if they don't know how to behave. And that's an interesting idea because he just told these people that they might be hopeless in their endeavors.
Yeah.
Because you have a writer who wants to be famous for writing. And that's what he says. Mm-hmm. And the professor, who I think he wants to have the riches, right?
I'm pretty sure it wasn't abundantly clear.
It was the writer.
Nothing is abundantly clear in this either.
No, I think only the writer was the most clear one out of what he said he wanted.
Yeah,
and I mean, it's really just people talking to each other. This movie and the environment that they're in happens to be the zone and where they're going.
A dirty, filthy landscape.
But yeah,
I wrote down a specific point when a quote he says as well. He says, "The zone demands your respect. It will punish you. Otherwise, this is not a place for a stroll." Because the professor they see the room up ahead and the building that has a room in it. And he says, I'm going to go right for it. And the stalker says, here, the straight path is not the fastest. Mm-hmm. And he basically, that's why they're like going all over the place and they're throwing the metal nuts with the bandages on them or whatever. Is there supposed to be like breadcrumbs?
I think I didn't look into that, but my assumption was that they were throwing it to see if that was a safe passage ahead.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then they have the metal nut that's hanging from Porcupine before, and he's trying to trick us. He wants to get us in the trap or whatever. Don't touch the nut.
Oh, I see.
The only one part that actually something did happen. There's two, actually, now that I think about it. Number one, right in that scene when the professor is going ahead, much to the chagrin of the stalker, he's going straight ahead, and then he hears, stop right there. And everybody's, who said that? Who'd stopped him? And everybody's pointing at each other. I thought you said it. No, I didn't say it. Did you say it? Oh, he's talking to himself up there. Something does happen at that moment, and then he gets spooked, and he comes back to them, and they continue their journey together as a trio.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
Yeah.
Then, again, followed by a lot of nothing. And then at the very end, when he's reunited with his daughter and his wife, the daughter is moving things with her mind.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Where did that come from?
Yeah, it's...
Explain yourself.
Tarkovsky.
Where are you?
What does it mean? Another part of this felt Tarkovsky was putting himself into this movie, whereas he wrote this for like himself, as if like he is talking to us or humanity. And he gave the writer this line saying, all your technology, all those blast furnaces, wheels, and such like hustle and bustle so that people can work less and consume more. They're all crutches, artificial limbs. Mankind exists in order to create works of art. At least that's unselfish compared with all other human activities, great illusions, images of absolute truth. Are you listening to me, Professor? So it's like this is his take on humanity, it seems, and he's putting it through the writer, and the professor is everybody else who's not listening. And the professor responds, what unselfishness are you talking about? People keep dying of hunger. Have you been living on the moon? And yeah, it's a lot of his input and his comments on, I think,
Tarkovsky's?
Yeah, Tarkovsky's.
Oh, yeah, of course.
His viewpoint. These are his...
What's the point of making a movie like this if you can't put yourself out there?
Yeah.
Some interesting trivia from this movie. There is certain... So most of the movies takes place of really long takes, really long scenes. Mm-hmm. It's a 163-minute long movie. There's 142 shots in this. So the average length is about 88 seconds, a little over a minute.
Yeah.
That's not to say that every shot is like that, because there are some that are a little bit quick cuts, like being followed by the guy on the motorcycle. That's a little bit faster. So there are some that are up to 5 and 6 minutes per shot. And since this was filmed on film, and they have these long strips of film stock that they're using to edit the movie, Tarkovsky allowed the color change of the tone of a long strip of film over an extended take. Tarkovsky built a very long film processing vat, which had different temperatures along the way. So the actual film strip was developed in a different way within that long vat to allow the color change within that one shot on an actual physical film strip, which I thought that was really interesting. It was strange to me, too, that this is held in such an ultra high regard, considering that there's a number of almost mistakes in the production. Mm-hmm. There was a lost film footage at some point.
Yeah.
There was a fire, I think, or something like that. And this was really early on in the use of this particular type of Kodak film in Russia.
Yeah.
And a number of it was lost. And that's why the first half of the movie and the second half, or various chunks of the movie, have a very different feel of the color scheme. And it was not intentional, by all accounts, at least.
Yeah.
I thought that was weird.
The whole separation of the sepia toned and the color, like the full color parts of the movie, was very interesting, because I was trying to figure out really what it meant, because the reality that they live in is that after this asteroid hit, this is like they're living in a reality that is not
the sepia.
Yeah, like this is what it looks like to them.
I thought about like the Wizard of Oz. Like they go to Oz, which is the zone, and it's colored, and then every time they see the sepia tone while they're in it, it's like almost like a memory of back home where they're dreaming or something.
Yeah, I've seen that too. Like this is like a version of Wizard of Oz a little bit, because it is like they're going to this one place where it grants wishes, and then Wizard of Oz, they're going to what?
Emerald City to see the wonderful Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, to grant a wish, and it turns out that he's a fraud. This one, they don't even get into the room, and
my entire education status is a fraud.
They get to the doorway of the room, and they're all just sitting outside there, and they decide that everything that they've talked about and learned, and maybe this isn't worth it, and maybe it's just like all hopeless.
Yeah.
They just decide to abandon that whole plan and just go back.
Can you think of any other movies where people went so far and then just didn't finish?
Definitely there is, where they almost get there, but they don't go in, and like it's like a frustrating part of the story. But there's definitely movies or stories that have that same thing, where it's like this destination is built up to be something or do something for the main character, but then they don't make it to the room, or they don't make it to the destination, or they just decide not to go in or go and to partake in whatever it is they said that they were going to do.
I feel like I've seen that before, but I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
Yeah, me either. This is a movie that we're barely probably scratching the surface of this. We're doing our best here in trying to interpret what it all means, I think. But
let's see if I can find it on here.
Well, this movie inspired, or stories like this.
Let's see here.
Movies
Because I can cut this out.
where they make it to the end.
Failed spot check, Forbidden Zone.
9 movies that just end without resolving anything. I don't know if that's the same thing.
Yeah.
Drive.
They find one that's like that ends without resolving anything.
Funny Games. Not
Yeah,
really.
there's not much happens there. The bad guys win in that. I don't think nothing gets resolved.
Enemy. No, I think there's just no resolution to that one.
I like the post-apocalyptic dog. The all black was like German Shepherd or something like that.
Yeah.
It was pretty cute. There was the dog also like there was a scene where he's laying down next to 2 corpses.
Mm-hmm.
They died long ago, like long ago. They're skeletal at this point, just hair. They didn't really comment on that either, do they?
What?
The couple.
Oh, no, not really.
You think they're going to because he's like, hey, come look at this. They're all off screen. You just hear them talking.
Yeah.
But then nothing really happens.
Yeah.
The Stoic Unknown Phenomenon.
Yeah. There's probably countless essays on this movie.
Adaptational mundanity. I feel like there's I swear to God, there's got to be.
I think after reading about this movie and like the whole end and how they don't go inside the room, going back to the monkey paw thing where it's like, and the porcupine story where he got what he wanted, but at a certain cost. And that's why he killed himself, which is like he wanted the money, but then he came back and his brother was dead.
Yeah.
And he hung himself because like that's not at all what he wanted.
Yeah, sure.
And with the writer and the professor not going into the room, and after hearing that story and everything they talk about, they realize that they don't want to deal with anything that could happen if they go into this room, any sort of unknown demons that they have, like subconsciously. And so that's what they decide. They each decide, like, I don't really want to go in there.
It feels like similar to the idea of if you could know your time and the time of death.
Yeah.
How you die and when, would you want to know or would you not want to know?
Yeah, because it's also going into the room, you're going to be, based on what is granted to you, is going to be a judgment of the kind of person you are.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Like I would be totally fine if some...
For you, yes, but for the people who are like, oh, maybe I'm not such a good person.
Oh, okay. I fully expect that the whatever or entity that judges me in that room is going to find that I am much worse than my own opinion of myself.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a fairly confident person. I try to do the right thing and stuff, but what the reality is versus what my subconscious believes, I think are just by human nature is going to be that. If you were to ask Mr. Rogers if he's a good person, he'd probably say, I could always be better, that sort of thing.
Oh, yeah. The
You know
humility.
what I mean? Yeah, he's very human. I don't know. It just seems like no matter how good of an opinion you do have of yourself, I'm a good person. I give to charities and I would help an old lady cross the street. I don't kick dogs. But what does that all-knowing entity that judges you at your soul when you're at the pearly gates and St. Peter's is judging you? What? Are you a good person?
Remember that Lincoln that you cut off on the freeway?
Yeah.
They're dead now.
Yeah, and it was not because of you, but we're still judging you.
And then I think, so Tarkovsky said about his own movie, about Stalker.
Oh, okay, cool.
Stalker is a tragedy, but tragedy is not hopeless. Tragedy cleanses man. I believe that only through spiritual crisis healing begins. And that's the end of that quote. And at the end of the movie, like we mentioned earlier, there is the Stalker's daughter.
Monkey,
or at least that's what he calls her.
Sure.
And also, before that, we have a monologue from his wife who's staring directly into the camera, delivering a monologue. I don't know what the hell she was talking about.
yeah, I don't know.
But at the end of the movie, we see the Stalker's kid who is just sitting at a table and just slumped over. Mm-hmm. And she is seemingly moving some glasses telekinetically with her mind.
How do you think they did that production-wise? Magnets?
Maybe. Yeah, it's hard to tell.
The only thing I could think of would be magnets or string, and the string was not visible. That was another really long shot.
Yeah, it was. And at the end of the film, Stalker's daughter, raised in love, shows miraculous powers. She is the hopeful future, signifying that perhaps miracles are much closer to us than we think, and not necessarily this omnipotent room that supposedly grants.
That's what he said?
No, this is just like interpretation of the ending.
Okay. I would love to sit down and listen to a Tarkovsky interview about this. And I bet he's probably like David Lynch, where isn't it obvious what it's about?
Yeah. What I've also what I looked into is that Tarkovsky was not a big fan of Kubrick and 2001.
Really?
Yeah. And
I feel like they would be homies.
you'd think, because Kubrick, I think, is a little bit more accessible.
Yeah, for
than
sure.
I don't know if it's just a language barrier, but his movies are a little bit more digestible, I think, than maybe something like this. I'm really curious about the rest of Tarkovsky's filmography. I've seen only parts of, I can only say I've seen parts of Solaris.
Sure.
I'm really curious about Ivan's childhood and The Mirror. I know that there are people pull from his movies all the time in terms of visuals.
Yeah.
And
Andrei Rublev is another one of his.
yeah. And I know there's a shot in Ivan's childhood where they're like standing over a trench and this couple and this guy picks up this girl and just is hugging her and she's dangling over the trench as he's standing over it. Huh. I've seen that in, I don't know, best shots in cinema or type compilations. But yeah, Tarkovsky's Stalker, did we dissect it enough? Too much? I barely don't think
I don't think we scratched the surface on it. And
No.
I'm in the camp with Paul where I didn't understand most of it. I liked the stuff that with the philosophy aspect of it.
I'm sure there's more to it too.
Yeah, but real quick before we give our grades, I do want to, we mentioned it briefly in passing, but this trivia fact right here, since the director and the assistant director, Andrei Tarkovsky's wife, and also one of the lead actors, Anatoly Solenitskin, died of a rare form of lung cancer, it has been hypothesized that their long-term exposure to chemicals in the water workings on this film caused these illnesses. But yeah, they worked, apparently the first spot they were going to film was demolished through an earthquake in China. Mm-hmm. So they found a water hydroelectric plant that had been closed down, and upstream from that river where they were filming, there was like toxic waste, unprocessed toxic waste being dumped in. So they were basically constantly exposed to this toxic waste, and the director, the assistant director, and the main character all died from it.
Stalker?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I believe it was. Let me see here. He played... No, it was the professor.
Professor.
Yeah, Pisatel. So they all died from a rare form of lung cancer.
Oh, dang.
So it's really hard to say that it didn't happen from this. Who knows? It was from the water or from the air or whatever. But
yeah,
I think one of the cinematographers, or like one of the production crew, was interviewed about it in 2003, and they said everybody knows that they got sick on this set, and no one really talks about it. But Bruce even mentioned it's one of the most dangerous, most deadly films of all time, probably because of that.
Yeah, it killed its director. The movie that killed its director.
Crazy.
That is nuts. And let's get into some grades now.
Shit. I was dreading this part.
Pete's? Why? Because you don't know how...
I don't know how to grade this movie. Visually, like it has a lot of really cool technical shots, and but if I was Tyler, I'd be giving it like the A for effort or whatever. But I don't know. I'm probably like a C+, B-.
Okay. Is that just based on enjoyment?
Enjoyment, and there's just not much to the story. The story itself is great, and I like the concept of it. Where they go with it is cool, and they're doing some really innovative shots, and like I cannot ignore how gorgeous it looks. In 1979, a Soviet era film, and it looks beautiful. I feel like a lot of it is just thrown on the screen. It's like, yeah, figure it out, interpret it yourself.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's a lot of it there that you can, that was it deliberate, but I feel like a lot of it was just put on camera and just let the chips fall where they go. Almost like a Jackson Pollock. You look at the canvas, and you're like, what do you see? Well, I don't know. You painted the damn thing. Yeah. So in that aspect, I'm going to go B-. Yeah, B- for Stalker.
Okay. I'm going to give it an A. It is very long and very slow, but so is like Assassination of Jesse James, and that's an A movie for me.
Objectively, a lot more happens in that movie, though.
Yes, objectively. And a lot easier things to understand happen in that movie.
Yeah, for sure.
Because there's so much, I think, to unpack for this movie that warrants research into it, which I'm down for. I'm down to look into it, and that's something that I like. Other movies might be a detractor. It's like I have to look into the context of whatever historical event or what it means, someone's interpretation. But this one, I'm keen on looking more into it, and like it looks great, and although it is slow and some scenes could be trimmed like a little. Did it have to be a 5-minute one take?
Yeah, to be honest,
they're just sitting there.
Yeah, and to be honest, it didn't feel like an almost 3-hour movie.
No,
It felt long, but there was only a few spots where I was like, okay, get to the next point. You're seeing a lot of beautiful things while this slow take is happening.
yeah, I really resonated with the whole philosophy behind it. I thought that was super, super interesting because it's something that, like, if I was forced to make a wish versus if I was asked to give a wish. If I just walked into a room, this is who you are. And I'm like, have I been lying to myself this whole time?
Yeah.
Is this who I am?
Yeah.
I think that's super interesting. It's like very much could be read in a book, like a Nietzsche book or something.
Sure.
But yeah, and that's really like my takeaway from
This would be
movie.
a good movie to like drop acid on or do mushrooms and watch.
Yeah, maybe understand it a little bit more after doing that.
or at least just feel more submerged into it.
Yeah.
And honestly, it might not even be a bad movie to watch a dubbed version. you know, or have a really strong like psychedelic sort of backing track. Like
I did find myself rewinding quite a bit because I felt like I missed something that somebody said because I like looked away for a second and then the subtitle just zooped away and I was like, wait, what did he say? I have to, because I saw his response. I'm like, that's interesting. What did he say before that?
Yeah.
So I had to go back a few times.
So listeners, here's how you watch this movie. So if you haven't seen Stalker before, so drop acid.
Yeah. Step one.
Yeah, or mushrooms, whatever. What have smoke the weed. Get yourself into a mindset you're not normally in. Put on Tool, and you put your headphones on, and just melt into the couch.
Yeah.
The next 3 hours will be something weird.
Put on Sigur Rós or something.
Hey, there we go. That's not bad. Yeah,
and
Sigur Rós would be cool.
And then just watch the visuals because you can still read it.
Exactly.
You can still read what's going on. You just have maybe a more prominent soundtrack.
Yeah.
It's just very drony. It's very much a drony type movie.
Yeah.
That's, I think, a good in terms of the feel and how you're watching it. But yeah, so
That was Stalker.
Stalker, what did you guys think about it? Are we stupid?
Yeah. Why did they do that? Is he stupid?
Okay, so that was Stalker or the wheel.
One wheel, 8 slots, 3 hosts. This is the Wheel of Destiny.
All right, Stalker's off the...
Okay, let's keep the theme to be a little bit more fun to watch.
Okay.
This maybe is as the same amount of bleakness, but a little bit more entertaining and shorter.
Yeah. Another number of notable one takes.
Yes.
Or oneers in this movie.
This movie has been, I've called it my number one movie for a long time.
You think it still sits up there?
I think so. I don't know about number one, but
Definitely
still up there because it's one of those movies that has left an impact on me.
Part of me feels like saying that you have a favorite movie is almost like saying you have a favorite color.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite color? I don't have a favorite color. I like blue.
Yeah.
But that's when I pick something that's not blue over something that's blue or vice versa.
Yeah.
In what capacity does that really matter even?
But if you were to ask a child, I feel like they would.
Yeah, but kids are stupid.
Yeah, I know.
Kids don't know anything.
They have a favorite dinosaur.
I know.
I couldn't even tell you a favorite dinosaur.
Mine's a Dilophosaurus.
So you have a definitive favorite something.
Yeah, I do. Apples. Favorite apple? Honeycrisp.
Honeycrisp?
Honeycrisp. Easy. No questions asked. But color, it's so vague. It's like having a favorite shape.
I don't have just one color. I have a favorite, maybe a combination of colors.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't know.
All right. Anyways, okay, so we're going to recap what's on the wheel. We have Children of Men from Joseph, Frankenhooker from Patreon Andrew Martin, Blackberry from Patreon Javier, Heart Ticket to Hawaii from Pete, Rocket Man from Pete, Mr. and Mrs. Smith from Tyler, American History X from Tyler, and Howard the Duck from Joseph. So we're going to give the wheel a spin. That's what we're going to watch next week.
What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? It's gonna be.
Call it Joseph.
It's Frankenhooker.
Frankenhooker. All right, cool.
Franken kind of turns into gibberish at the end.
Yeah,
of that.
Frankenhooker. It's Frankenhooker.
Frankenhooker from
Andrew Martin. Okay, so let's see. Frankenhooker.
Where's Frankenhooker? Can we watch it for free?
Let's see.
Frankenhooker?
So this is from 1990, hour and 25 minutes, rated R, directed by Frank Henenlotter.
Frank N. Hooker.
Yeah, Frank Henenlotter. I've never heard of that before. Starring James Lorenz, Joanne Ritchie, and Patty Mullen. Let's see if it's streaming anywhere.
Frankenhooker. Sounds like a drama.
Oh, wow. Frankenhooker is streaming on AMC Plus, Peacock, Vudu, Criterion Channel, Tubi, Shudder, and Pluto.
Oh,
So you should be able to find it at one of those places.
Okay.
Here's the synopsis. A medical school dropout loses his fiancée in a tragic lawnmower incident and decides to bring her back to life. Unfortunately, he was only able to save the head. So he goes to the red light district in the city and lures prostitutes into a hotel room so he can collect body parts to reassemble her. Mm-hmm. All right. This sounds like campy fun.
Okay. Frankenhooker.
I heard a couple of people show some screenshots from Poor Things next to some screenshots from this movie.
Really?
And say Emma Stone better to thank, what's her name? What's the actress's name in this? Where is it here? It said Emma Stone better to thank Patty Mullen if she accepts her Best Comedy award at the Oscars.
Best comedy.
Yeah, because that's like, I think, or like Best Actress in a Comedy or Best Actress or whatever. Okay, cool. That'll be fun. We'll get Andrew and see if he's got anything to say about it next week.
Okay.
All right, anything else?
No.
Okay, cool. So thank you to our cool-ass yard duties over on Patreon. That is Javier, Heather Sachs, Ryan Corbin, and Chris. If you want to support us on the Patreon, visit us at patreon.com/middleclassfilmclass. Until next time. Thank you for joining us as we gab and chatter and we talk about Andrei Tarkovsky's Stalker. Follow us next week as we review the obvious follow-up to that, Frankenhooker from 1990. Follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/MCFC podcast, and send us an email, mcfcpodcast@gmail.com.
And follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Middle Class Film Class and on Twitter at Podcast MCFC.
And go to the YouTube page. Just search Middle Class Film Class on YouTube. It's a lot of fun out there. Joseph's doing dynamite content every day of the week. So we will see you next time.
See ya.
Class dismissed.
I gotta get out of here.
The bell doesn't dismiss you. I dismiss you.
You're free to go.
See you later.
That's a wrap.
Great show.